Welcome back to Hannity. So earlier today, the president arrived in Oregon to meet with the victims and families of those injured and killed during last week's college massacre. Now, local gun advocates were not too happy with the president coming to visit and line the streets in protest. Now, this news comes as the Washington Post reports that the president may actually once again circumvent Congress, try and use executive authority to impose new background checks. Joining us now with reaction, former NYPD Detective Bo Dietl, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, author, columnist, good friend David Limbaugh is back in New York. Good to see you all again. Before we get to the gun issue, let's go to the legal side, David, where you're an expert. This president, Republicans allowed him to get away with executive amnesty. They said they'd stop him. Now, does that now embolden him to totally ignore the Constitution, the rule of law? He's going to write his own laws, write his own executive orders?
In anticipation of this show, I was thinking about examples of Obama defying the Constitution and thwarting congressional authority. And I went back to one of my Obama books, and I thought of 7 examples. There's about 20 examples, but only about 7 of them. Then I open my email, and I get a blast from Heritage Foundation. They say 7 times Obama, and they got some I don't have, and I got some they don't have. Let me just give you a few. Immigration, the DREAM Act. 2 weeks before, he said he had no authority, then he did it anyway.
He said 25 times he didn't have authority.
Yeah, but then he just did it, right? Obamacare waivers and exemptions, environmental regulations, with the EPA and the coal industry. No child left behind, he waived the requirement for math. The Department of Interior, he defied the federal judge who invalidated a ban on offshore drilling. He quit enforcing immigration laws unilaterally.
Here's my question. I'll throw it to Leslie because she's a liberal here on the panel. Do you believe in separation of powers, co-equal branches of government?
Oh, absolutely.
And you learned that, you know how a bill becomes a law.
Yes, I do.
And so for the president to just admit that he doesn't have the right, for example, on immigration, to use executive orders and then using it, that would say that he is admitting his own lawlessness, doesn't it?
Well, I think with this, and we saw after Sandy Hook 23 executive orders, this would be yet another executive order. And if I had to bet, I would say he's trying to push the Senate Democrats who are already looking to put forth legislation. And I think he's trying to push the hand of Congress.
Bypasses Congress.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think he's using it in a sense as a threat, but I honestly don't know how successful it will be if we look at what happened 23 times after Sandy Hook, to be honest.
I happen to be an advocate. I've had gun carry permits in Rhode Island, California, Alabama, Georgia, and in New York. I've carried a gun all my adult life. I was trained in the use of a firearm at 11. I would prefer, if God forbid an incident happens where I am or my children are, that somebody like Bo Dietl is there, that is armed and trained and willing to take on a perpetrator like this.
You know, we have to not miss the point here. The point is we love for law-abiding citizens to have weapons. Background checks are in place. Background checks should be done. We don't want everyone to be able, a person who's a felon or someone with a criminal record should not have a weapon. And I think even all our NRA people agree on that. But my point is, when you get a president that wants to throw the baby out with the bathwater and put his new law in there, circumventing the Congress, we have judicial, we have legislature, and we have executive.
We have co-equal branches of government. But here's my question. I'll throw it to Leslie and then David. You know, he said he's going to politicize this. We should politicize this, he said. But here's a problem. You know how many shootings took place in Chicago for the month of September alone? Do you know how many?
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't know. Numerous. Probably more since we've spoken.
I will give you the number. According to the Chicago Tribune, 351. I didn't see him go to his own home state and lecture people in his own hometown. Why does he try and take a high-profile case and exploit it? This is exploitation of a tragedy. Before he even knew the names of the victims, he said, I'm going to politicize it.
I don't agree with that. I think he is passionate, as a Democrat, am about not taking away anyone's rights. I want cops and people who've been cops and trained as cops to be out there to save my... Well, I would trust you to save my butt. But you do not do background checks. Under the current federal law, there are no background checks at gun shows. I can be a felon, have strong mental illness, have an arsenal of weapons, and get more.
Talking about over 120, as they regard them as mass shootings. That's 3 or more people occurred in Chicago. So you had over 120 mass shootings. What he's saying is, let's use our energy. Let's find out how we can get the illegal guns off the streets that are killing 5,000 plus of our young African Americans. No, but he takes it and politicizes it on this case.
But I don't think, is it political? Because you even talked about universal background checks,
Well,
which the majority of Americans,
I
majority of Americans want universal
Let me
background
bring David
checks.
back in.
Well, he lied about the facts, and he knows he lies. But the states with the strictest gun control laws, he says, have the fewest deaths. The opposite is true. He says if we have greater gun control laws, we'll have fewer deaths. We have relaxed gun control laws in the last 20 years, and we've had significantly lower deaths. He says the United States has the highest per capita deaths from gun shootings, and that's not true. You look at
Especially if you remove the cities with the toughest laws with the most violence.
Sean,
you can't get a gun permit.
He knows what he's saying is not true. He knows gun laws don't prevent gun deaths, that gun deaths are not caused by guns.
Do you think he wants
so why is he doing
confiscation?
it?
Do you think, because he keeps comparing us to Australia and Great Britain, where they did have confiscation, do you think that's his goal?
I don't know, but suspicious people can reasonably wonder, because we know what he's saying isn't true. We know he's very frustrated.
Right.
This one item of agenda
last
he hasn't been
question.
able to get done.
All right,
Yes.
Leslie, God forbid if you, your family, your children, people you love are in a classroom, somebody comes in with a gun. Would you prefer to have a guy like Bo Dietl, a retired detective, armed and trained in the use of firearm in that building or not?
I would like to have, because I have two children,
Exactly.
7 and 8 years of age in a school, I would like to have.
You'd be glad he's there.
I believe in current or former law enforcement or military personnel that are trained. I don't believe in the students packing. I don't believe in the parents packing. I don't believe in the teachers
These
packing.
gun-free zones
and
don't work.
in
Real quick,
Columbine, there were two armed guards.
All these shooters go into the gun-free zones.
Every one in the
every
US.
one of them.
In the
But to
US
say that, I agree with you. Want a gun-free? That's
Roseburg
fine.
wasn't a
Last word,
gun-free
David,
zone.
quick.
In the U.S. and Western Europe, all the massive gun shootings, 3 or more deaths, have occurred in gun-free zones.
All right.
Obama's got a war on law
Roseburg is not
enforcement
gun-free.
right now. That's what's
Absolutely.
scary.
Never speaks out about that, too. More politicization. Thank you all.